Well, happy Memorial Day weekend for Tarot for Our Times. I didn't realize that when I picked tonight's theme that it was actually in, it fits with the Memorial Day weekend because I'm talking about the disastrous graduation speech that our Alzheimer's in chief gave uh, over the weekend. It's like we can't even have a peaceful weekend anymore. Oh, there's so much material for us, though. So, this is our theme card, the King of Cups in reverse, which I, of course, use my own version of on the thumbnail. And interesting because this compassionate guy, upright, was most of us it was for Biden. So in reverse, it's one of, as I say, the kings in reverse are the many aspects of him. And with this one, it's about when he's in reverse. It's about mental disorders, dementia, could be some substance abuse, and there have been some stories coming up about that, but that's for another reading. But it is the king that is losing his mental facilities, and he is not the compassionate guy of the upright version. So that is who he is in this reading. And so this may just seem like because he's given some really stupid commencement speeches, but these are the future. These are the future military leaders. I mean, we had General Grant, and on the other side, General Lee from the Civil War, and many, many others that graduated from West Point. So it was just a word salad of trophy wives, Al Capone. And of course, he painted himself as the victim. He stumbled around the podium. It was, and they didn't react. Usually, when the commander in chief gives a speech, there's applauding and cheering, especially for the Republicans. But I guess there was that one person you heard a little something for. Well, I've watched portions of this from the mainstream guys like Midas Touch, and that's, Midas Touch. In fact, I just finished watching one from Occupy Democrats, and it got just a few minutes ago, got a terrible, terrible, terrible reception. Military leaders, congressional people just thought it was absolutely appalling. The one thing that he didn't do, and he wore that ridiculous hat. I don't ever want to see another one of those again. And then at the end of the speech, it's been a custom since presidents gave the commencement speech at West Point that they shake hands with all of the cadets that just, or whatever they call them, when they graduate, since there was a West Point. Well, not this one. He couldn't stick around because he had to go play golf at the New Jersey course, of course, on our dime. So, in this, I'm going to do the reading on what this whole thing. I think this will have a very bad long-term effect because it's the elite military training academy, and what effect this is going to have, because this ripples out to the rest of them. And if he wants to do a coup d'etat, God forbid, it's not looking really good that he's going to get the military on his side to do his bidding. So I want to see what the cards say about this. And it's also his, his mental state. It's just it's getting worse and worse and worse. I mean, if I hear one more, that's why I don't watch all that MSNBC and CNN crap. It's because they can't really they can't ignore it, except for a few like Rachel Maddow and um, Michael Steele and some of the others that do point this out. The mainstream anchor people, they don't talk about this. They're all about Biden. Who cares? He's not the president anymore, and he got a lot done. So who cares? But but this is getting really, really bad. This is really bad. I mean, we had Reagan with Alzheimer's, but he makes Reagan look like he's really 16 again. I mean, this is just so there's that aspect. So I really do want to look at all of that. I think I could get that into the one spread. If I need a further question, I'll do a quickie, very few card spread. So let's get started and see what right now, as we pick the first card, see what this means for right now. Okay, so we've got the Six of Wands. So he's riding there in on his horse, but look at these guys in the back. They're kind of turning away. They're not really paying attention, but he's the victor in that he, quote unquote, won the election. He's there now, but they're not paying attention. He got like no applause and everything. So this is the victory in his own mind, that he's the commander-in-chief on his horse, but hey, look, nobody's paying attention. So the energy crossing, that is very interesting. Three of Swords. This element, I didn't think this element, or I wasn't even thinking of this element before. It's heartache, and it's also treason, if we want to put this in the... So we've got this guy who's the winner because of some possible shenanigans for entertainment purposes only, of course. So in the before tarot, we have King of Pentacles in reverse. This is interesting because this looks like that because this is before the full meaning of the king is it looks like he's just getting in his seat, and which means he's getting started, getting his stuff together. But since it's in reverse, it's the corrupt king. It's like that, the crypto banquet and the Middle East, whatever, God only knows what happened there. It's the corrupt king, and he's just getting started. It kind of makes me wonder. I don't think this is brought up in their classes, but it has to make me wonder if these guys have, they get on the internet, and these men and women, they get on the internet. Kind of makes you wonder if they've been following all this corrupt stuff. So, because they're young people, they're not going to turn on CNN or Fox. They're just looking at their laptops or hooking it up to their TV. So he's just getting started, and but with the limited leisure time they have, they're not really seeing the full extent of it. They're just getting, it's like the sun peeking through the clouds. They're only getting a little idea of this because they don't have a lot of time to just surf the net. Okay, but it's telling me that they do have a sense of this. It's also coming down to the losers thing that I don't know how anybody in the military can stand him, to be quite honest. So underneath this we have the Hierophant in the past, which makes you. I'm thinking of all those cadets sitting out there, the men and the women in their uniforms. If you wonder that he's tearing apart our institutions, turning it upside down, that's their school. I mean, okay, so, but still, they don't want to get into a conflict about this. So I would say, looks like he was just kind of like greeted with. He was very cool. I probably went clap, clap, clap a little bit at the end, um, but this is sort of saying like on the inner life, it's like conflict. Like, oh, I'm supposed to respect him, but okay. And then we have temperance, which is about the balance, and that between the material and the spiritual, and it is in the upright position. So that's pretty much about the balance that they may want to maintain. So it pretty much looks like, I mean, this is telling me they probably wanted to boo him right off of the stage, but they have the discipline where they just didn't applaud that much. So in opposition of this, we have, here we go. We have him as the King of Cups. This is a very big deal, like with the throwing the hats up in the air. This is a big deal. There's a lot of tradition with this. I mean, I've seen replays of Obama's speech to the troops. I'm sure that you could go and find a pretty inspiring one from Biden. So they have to listen to this to Grandpa, rambling Grandpa, and playing the well, this card is like the Queen of Cups in reverse. This is about being manipulative and playing the victim too. I mean, there's a whole lot of stuff in this. So this is really in opposition of this very traditional thing. They want to be inspired with the president giving a speech. So on the conscious level with all of this is the Magician. So they're seeing someone, and maybe some of them did have illusions about, I'm sure a lot of them had their illusions about him. But this is about, in this instance, the Magician in reverse. It's about someone who used to be good at manifesting and making things happen. Wasn't that good in business, but he was, good at, like staying out of prison and, becoming high profile and the president and all. But it's false magic. It's all smoke and mirrors. So you have to wonder if these young military people are starting to see like, oh, he's not so magical after all. Then on the subconscious level, King of Pentacles in reverse. This is about this guy in reverse. I mean, he's very corrupt, and he's entitled, and he's really out for himself. And these people are not, looking at it as these people that want to dedicate their lives to their country. This is pretty much about people like this do not have, they're not real patriotic. I mean, that trip to the Middle East, talking to the people, the architects of 9/11 and the funders of Hamas and a couple of different countries, these are the people they've fought against. I mean, their fathers are probably in Desert Storm and the post 9/11 conflicts. So subconscious, this has got to be kind of eating away at them. It's saying that we're supposed to be in admiration for someone for someone who may not have our best interests if it's not going to make a buck for him. So this is way down below the surface, but so okay. So in the past, which will be the before, we'll do a before. Oh, okay. We have the Queen of Pentacles as kind of like Eve with the serpent trying to give her the tainted money, and she's trying to decide whether she's going to take it or not. So I would say in the past, this is about him setting a very, and this is like, and it's also the poisonous serpent with the poisonous thing is saying, if it's for money and business, it's all right. So this is in the past and probably still in the present, as far as he goes. And I'm sure he thought, oh, West Point, there's gotta be a buck to be made out of this. They'll see how patriotic I am, and all my donors will shell out like crazy. Well, the thing is that he went there with the wrong. Well, he always does everything with the wrong idea, and there's not a bit of patriotism about this at all. I mean, the more I talk about it, the more embarrassing this gets. And then you have his dementia, advancing dementia in, the opposite thing. Okay, so as we move up to the present, you know what? After all of these mishaps and disastrous speeches, I did see about it might have been Ben Mycelis who was talking about, either him or one of them, was talking about how his handlers they've been dressing up his wounds and kind of hiding it from the public. See, when this guy is upright, he just heals up, bandages up the boo-boos, and then get outs to fight for another day. But this is getting old. This is really getting, there isn't, this whole thing just says they cannot cover, it's getting too hard for them to cover up his decline, that he just cannot, he is not, I mean, when you think of how he was able to, I hate to say it, wipe the floor with Biden because his doctors gave him the right meds for entertainment purposes only, and he was able to lick his wounds and come back, and after some disastrous campaign speeches, we had the quote-unquote assassination attempt, and boom, another he's running out of bounces. He really is. I mean, the biggest one yet was going into the Oval Office. So this is saying is that he's the really running out. It's running out of it. There's that the medication, whatever they give him, that it only does a cosmetic thing for so long. So just a teeny bit into the future. Okay, the High Priestess in reverse. Well, we know it's just this sinister, deep, dark stuff that I think I saw bits and pieces coming out about that on the internet, so that it just really brings out the worst in him, that we're seeing more of the dark pillar than the light pillar was fake, has been fake with him. So we're going to go to the after tarot for the more future. So further down the road with this is interesting. Okay, so we've got the fruit of the poisonous tree that was badly planted out. You could see it's all kind of getting droopy, and one of them has fallen off, probably rotting on the ground. And there he is with the hoe saying, well, we planted a lousy bush here, but I'll take a poisonous crypto, rotten crypto, and I'll just say, oh, what a good job done. in this is probably him and his followers, but except for him, we all know it's a big pile of crap anyway, but we're just gonna leave it and hope for the best. And this may be what the hardcore MAGA, Moses Mike, MAGA Mike, and those douchebags and his big time enablers. Okay, so they're just taking what they can. It's just you wonder how much longer they're going to be able to do this. So further down the road is okay. The 10 of rods in the whole thing is that upright. He's he carried too heavy of a burden. He dropped all the rods. Now he's contemplating how he's going to carry them better, maybe not take all of them and tell someone else to pick them up. In this one, he's saying, you know what? In reverse, it's like, why be bothered? Just leave them. And it's, and this has got to be kind of bothering the military people that have graduated from West Point, is that his whole thing about, he was going to end the war in Ukraine in one day. So, I can't be, it's like he can't be bothered anymore. This is a lot of the stuff he's, tariffs, he's kind of walked him back, half-assed sort of thing. So he's just, because he can't handle, he just can't handle it. So, let's see what we have in the hopes and the fears. This is the one I want. In the hopes and the fears. Okay. In the hopes of this disaster, the hermit, let's see if I, with his Farsi, let's see if I can find the way. So the hope, I think of these people, the supporters, or his handlers, so to speak. Well, let's just shove him out there. Shove him out there with a lantern, and we'll just be in denial and hope that he sees the light and can find his way. That's what's going to be happening, which is telling me they may be going into denial. Hope springs I think what they're doing is they're hoping he's going to miraculously change and be very enlightening. The fears, they got to have some fears, is, kind of goes back to where was this? It goes back to the, to this one. It goes back to this one with the regular. Okay, this is in reverse, but this is the regular one and not the after. This is the whole thing. It's like, well, I think we planted the rotten crop here. It's a big mess, but we're just not going to do anything about it and just hope maybe we'll try to clamp down and be more authoritarian. Of course, that's not going to work. It never does. But, okay, we know we planted the rotten stuff. Well, we're just going to tell everybody it's wonderful, but they're fearing. The fear is that they're deep down inside, they know that this is, it kind of goes back to this one. They're really running out of options, but hey, we'll pretend. But there's a big fear. I would say that expect to see more demonstrations. So let's see what we could learn from this big mess here in the conclusion. Okay. Well, this is going to teach us we have got to open our eyes to what's happening. See, this guy's looking down at the 3 cups, but that one kind of coming out of the celestial, it's an emotional thing. This is, the support from him is purely emotional. There's nothing that he's really accomplished. But it's all like this MAGA, make America great, yada, yada, yada. It's so emotional So he's focusing on those empty cups that has been that one disaster after another. The obvious one floating out is saying, "You gotta get rid of him." We really, but he doesn't want to look at that. But it is also saying, "I think we're kind of starting to run out of options," which is kind of well, a little bit what the Seven of Pentacles is about. That they, they can't face it. So I really think that this is a very important kind of thing. It's like you're just refusing to see the obvious, and it's telling us we've got to see the there's. I'm sorry, but I can't see how anyone can spin this speech that it wasn't a total disaster. Now, one thing I'm going to do a short reading about. I want to see if he's I don't think it's just one thing. I know the military in secret has probably they're probably fed up with him. They were probably fed up with him the last term, but there's something about but he's a commander in chief. So I want to this may be this I want to see if this whole thing could be paving the place where if he wants to use the military like a police force, like ICE is being used, and which would go against the Constitution, if he's going to have the support from him. I've always suspected, hopefully it's not wishful thinking, that might be the bridge. That might be the bridge too far for them to do that. So, it's a very scary thing. It's all about martial law and this and that. I just want to see what the cards in a very short spread have to say about him, or to start an illegal war, go and take over Canada or something. Can you believe this stuff? About taking over Canada or Greenland or the Panama Canal, all this other crazy stuff he wants to do, to see if this is just another thing that may deter the army from doing that. And that drunk that's heading them up, he thinks he's gonna be firing all the hostile generals. I suspect there are some that have been putting on an Academy Award and Tony Award all rolled up performance as to how loyal they are to El Presidente, but they don't mean it. And he's too drunk all the time to notice any nuanced behavior. I don't think that guy ever knew nuanced behavior if it fell on him. So I just want to take a very quick look and see if the military is going to stick to the Constitution if he asks them to do otherwise. Now there may not be a simple answer, but I'm going to see if we can get a little bit more insight into this. Okay, so alrighty. So we have the base card, the energy before, and something kind of conclusive. Okay, I might have to throw a few more on this. Okay, so let's see. King of Wands. This is telling me that there are some generals that are in good command. That this is an inspiring king. He's a fire element of fire with the wands. So they can, when called upon, they can be warriors. They're wise that they'll try to be peacemakers, but they're also warriors. So I would say that this represents the generals. Can't represent the president because he's a nut job. So now I would say this. I'm feeling as though this is the top brass, and the energy with this is okay. He's made a mess in the past. We really can't dwell on it, and we're really moving forward. So when this is upright, this is very much of I've called it the minor arcana for the death card. But it's kind of like wallowing in it's grief, but it's wallowing in it, and it's not able to see the two upright cups. But this is in reverse. Okay, we've seen the spilled milk, we've seen the spilled blood, we've learned from it, so now we're ready to move on. So this is to me, this is pretty hopeful. So okay, so in the before leading up to it, we have the King of Wands. The King of Wands in reverse. So again, he's just right. Again, he's just getting situated in his seat. The celestial being is handing him the rod, the wand of where that's where the fire, the inspiration. And since it's in reverse, it doesn't look like he's going to take it. This does not look like it's there, but he doesn't even see it. If he were upright, he would be seeing it. But he's seeing. See, now this is interesting. This is usually you see a little, you see a little kitty cat. Well, the queen, usually you see the little kitty cat. He's got the lion, which is like the whole thing is that Trump, the one cagey thing about him is that in his dirty dealings, he's never actually done it himself. He always gets the underlings to go out, to be point man and go out in the jungle. But in this case, if he were upright, I would say, the lion is guarding him. In reverse, I would say that lion might just take a nap. That it questions that maybe there isn't that loyalty anymore, although it's putting on the appearance of guarding the king. It's in reverse, so it may be just putting on an act of guarding the king. Very interesting. So coming up for this is okay, in the after, this is a really interesting one. In the regular tarot, it's a rainbow. And it has a rainbow connecting all the cups, all the colors of the rainbow. But this is that's after the storm. This is after the storm, but they're not paying any attention to it because they're like really into it with their waving their hands and the regular thing. But here it's like, okay, maybe the rainbow came, it's left, but we're just going to enjoy our little campfire and the stars. So what this is telling me is that but that's the whole thing, is that their adoration of the rainbow isn't real because it's fleeting. Well, the rainbow's left, they're over it, and they're just enjoying a little bit of family time under the stars. So this may be, and it's not for the entire military, but I'm going to say where it comes, like the top little military family, the ones that they saw the rainbow, it wasn't real, it's gone. And so now they've got to gather around the campfire. I think this is the military family, and I mean, the top people gathering around the campfire saying, the guy's a total whack job. He was our rainbow, now he's a whack job. So now that night has fallen, that's when the plans are made, is around the campfire at night. So I don't know that I I might put a couple more, but what this is telling me is that what the military will be doing, and this may be before the West Point, I would say if there were any in the top brass that might have had some doubts that the West Point thing may get rid of them. So let's see what's happening after this little campfire deal. Like, this is in the planning thing. The Knight of Pentacles in reverse. And since it's after, looks like he's getting ready to dismount the horse after, but it's in reverse. So usually he's the loyal knight and the workhorse. This is saying the loyalty is coming to an end. Sometimes this can mean that since we can't find the loyal soldiers, maybe we have to go and get the mercenaries, which is, they need to be very careful that they don't get the Proud Boys and this sort of thing. Rumors have it that may be some people in ICE. I don't know. That's another reading. So I just want to go a little further down the line, is that we have the Three of Cups in reverse. This is pretty much saying that a lesson to these, I don't want to call them kids, because whatever they had as children going into this academy is probably gone by now, is saying that, okay, you've graduated, you're done, but you probably, celebrate for one night, but the celebration is not going to be long, because you're now facing a big challenge in having a regime, and that you're going to have some very difficult decisions to make as you move on. And and I know when they get out of it, I think when they get out of the academy, they go right into officer training. I mean, West Point, they've been through, West Point is like basic training, really, for the physical stuff. But I think they automatically go into being officers. So it's saying, be happy that you graduated, but that speech should tell you that you're a class like no other class that's gone before, with a cray-cray commander-in-chief. And it's very complex. So go out and have a few beers tonight, or was it last night? But you're not going to be celebrating long. This is something, and I think that's a good one to end up. This is a challenge that you're really, it's serious. It's really serious. Maybe this might have been, I'm getting a Civil War vibe to this. Is like when those guys got out of West Point in like 1860 and 1861, and that, the whole thing was, it just wasn't like, boom, today, Fort Sumter, today's the Civil War. It was like, it took some time. I'm sure that class went out thinking, oh, we're about to face a challenge we never did before, because we're going to be fighting our own, and our own countrymen, north, south. And some of us will be with the South, and some of us will be with the North. So this is event that may go that. I'm hoping the majority are going to go with the light and not the dark, because that's basically what it is, and that's what it was back then. That it was the light or the darkness of slavery. So they're in a very similar position, but I really believe that they really got a view of crazy and the big challenge they have, because they're going to have to choose of, do we follow a dictator or do we follow the Constitution? And that's a very, very weighty thing. But this card indicates to me, with the King of Wands, that the majority of the elders will say it's the Constitution. It's the Constitution. So it's a complex reading, and not everybody's going to be on board with that, because there is the I didn't get, just go, yeah, there's the temptation of the money with the Knight of Pentacles in reverse and going to the dark side. So these young people are going to have a lot of soul searching. So it's my hope that that doesn't mean that the whole military is going to be on board if he declares martial law. I'm thinking it's looking like, I would call this a cautiously optimistic reading. So until the next episode of Cray Crays on Parade with titty babies and entitled people, what a wealth of material. I will see you soon, so bye.